All right, James, we are live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live Q&A. Welcome to all of our Gaia members and community. As we get started here and everyone is joining the call, please, let's get started in the comments and introduce where you're from. I'm going to start myself, Boulder, Colorado. Would love to hear from you. And as I introduce my guest, Dr. Weissman is featured in two of some of our best performing documentaries on Gaia, Emotion and Heal. If you've yet to see them, I suggest you do. They're fantastic. He's also the author of the best selling book, The Power of Infinite Love and Gratitude. And today we're going to be talking about a number of things. We're going to be learning about how to listen to what our symptoms might be telling us. I love this concept. We're going to be learning about how to get and clear unstuck energy. And we're going to be learning simple approaches to reprogramming our subconscious mind. And before I introduce my guest, I just want to do a shout out to everyone here. So, Sean from Nashville, Eladine from France, from Nevada here, Jabanath from England, Missouri, Ohio, Ontario, New Zealand, Kia ora, Montreal, Canada, New Jersey, California, Canada, Spain, Stockholm, Sweden, Sydney, Texas, Illinois, Los Angeles. Fantastic, amazing. I can feel the buzz. Please make sure if you have a question to use the Q&A box on Zoom here. Looking forward to hearing your questions. And welcome to my guest, Darren. How are you today?
I'm great, James. I'm so grateful to be here with you and everybody.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have you here. And
Thank you.
I think maybe as a starting point here, if I may, prior to this call, we were discussing a mutual friend we had and the work of infinite love and gratitude
Mhm.
in his life and how that's made its way into my life through his fascination with your work. Can you explain to me a little bit about how this work came to you? I understand that you're a doctor of chiropractic. Was there some sort of impetus that brought this work into your field?
Yeah, for sure. There was multiple stepping stones that ultimately led to awakening to the power of infinite love and gratitude. I mean, ultimately, like many people that are in the healing arts, I struggled with my own health as a child, asthma, allergies, tonsils, and adenoids removed, ear surgeries, different things like that, that ultimately led me down a medical model. And that's all I knew. And from there, I didn't find out about chiropractic until I was 19 in undergrad. And I was doing pre-med because that's what I knew. And my brother was in a car accident. And that was a gift in strange wrapping paper because he went the medical route. It didn't help him. And he found a chiropractor and it
Mm.
changed his life. And he called me up. He said, D. And that was the time that we had yellow pages. He goes, you need to contact a chiropractor. And this is the profession for you. I'm like, really? I'm like, what is it all about? He goes, just check it out. And so I call all these doctors in Lawrence, Kansas through the yellow pages. And I finally get to one of them that's just like, I'm moving my office. And if you help me lift boxes, I'll tell you all about chiropractic. So I rode my motorcycle over there and helped them lift boxes. He gave my first adjustment. And then that was an opening door to
Mm.
infinite love and gratitude. And went into a real science-based chiropractic college outside of Chicago.
Mhm.
And from there, I discovered acupuncture and kinesiology and homeopathy. And I just went into neurolinguistic programming and EMDR and just started to understand the nature of the body is not only a self-healing organism, but our every relationship is designed to heal. And I had a moment, it was in 1998, the end of a full day. My cousin, his name is Dr. Robert Morgan. He's the first deaf chiropractor to graduate from the Palmer College of Chiropractic. And he held his hand up like this at the end of the day. And I don't speak sign language, but I felt something. I said, Rob, what is that? He's like, I love you. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? I'm like, I'm feeling this incredible energy in my body. And one of the things that I really am excited about is using muscle reflex testing as a means to communicate with the invisible, unconscious. And I had him come over. I found a reflex point that was weak, and I went, "I love you." And the reflex got strong. And I said, "Wait a second. I'm a chiropractor. I love adjusting people. I'm an acupuncturist. I love sticking needles in people. I love nutrition and homeopathy and all these different things to change the nervous system." I just went, "I love you." And his nervous system changed. I'm like, what is going on here? And so, being a passionate freak of nature, of just like always wanting to just raise my vibe, the next day I'm coming in, I'm going, "I love you" to all of my clients, my patients. And they're like, "Wow, Dr. Darren, you're really kind of funny today." And then I realized this is not about my love. This is about infinite love.
Mhm.
This is about a love that is beyond the personal, that is the spiritual. And 2 years later, I was introduced to Dr. Masaru Emoto's work.
Yeah.
And his work with water helped me to appreciate that love and gratitude are the highest vibration. And then I realized in that moment what was happening when I said, "I love you," and that muscle got strong. It was affecting the water of his body. It was affecting how he was conducting electricity. And so, I mean, that's the long story short, the essence of it. And so since then, I have been teaching this system that ultimately integrates all these different things that I learned along the way. But the foundation of it is a vibration that is a universal healing frequency of infinite love and gratitude. It's the basis of it.
Very beautiful. Um, Lots to, double click on there if I can say. But first of all, is I think everyone can remember their first adjustment. I mean, maybe put a comment if you can. I remember mine. I burst out into a fit of laughter, and I couldn't stop laughing. And it was a huge like lower back hip adjustment, and it was an osteopath, and he had to leave me for like 5 minutes. I was just giggling, giggling. It was just a, and I've actually had a blind chiropractor too, Darren. That I used to visit, and it was fascinating. He'd take his rope, like his coat off, and he'd find the spot to put it on the wall, and then he'd feel your spine. It was very incredible.
I bet you he was like the Stevie Wonder. I bet he was amazing.
He was incredible.
I bet he was amazing. It's incredible.
And his name was Dr. Hans, and it was just unbelievable. So this power of this, you know, spirit of love, spirit of compassion, this like frequency, um, you started to, I guess, practice with it more, and you started to see the efficacy of this and using it on your patients. Can people use it on themselves as well?
Yeah, I mean, the essence of the Lifeline technique, which was the ultimate culmination of the application of infinite love and gratitude, the Lifeline technique is this flow chart back here, um, which is an intricate system on how to communicate with the subconscious mind. But the
Mm.
simplicity of it is that you can take your hand like this, literally the "I love you" posture, and you put it over your heart, and you slow down in this real busy life, and you just take a deep breath, and you breathe into your heart, and you give yourself permission just to feel this, and you just go, "Infinite love and gratitude,
Mm.
infinite love and gratitude, infinite love and gratitude." And that alone will create a state shift of consciousness. But you start, you get triggered by your dog barking, you get triggered by your neighbor, you get triggered by your husband, your wife, you get triggered by your kids, you get triggered by taxes. And you just take a moment, you slow down, and you place this. And the simplicity is that it works if you use it. It doesn't work if you don't use it.
Mhm.
Infinite love and gratitude. That's the simplicity of it. But then there's a whole deeper dive that helps us to appreciate that. Like I see somebody has been having gallbladder issues. And so, like, what is the deeper conversation with that? There's at the core is, people can learn how to apply the power of infinite love and gratitude and the Lifeline technique technology to bridge the gap to the invisible subconscious memories that are emotionally charged, that when triggered, cause the body to maladapt, cause the body to react as if it's still in a memory, as if I was 4 years of age in an environment where my parents are fighting. And the brain and the body don't know the difference. And, people can learn how to apply it in that way. But simple application, Everyone right now can immediately take it from here and just do that. Yet there's a whole deeper dive for people that are coaches or have a therapeutic process that they're helping people to create change that gets them into the subconscious, really like nothing I've really found.
Can we speak a little bit about illness and I would say specific symptomatology that people might be suffering from as a path to awakening? Because for me, my father became quite unwell and he was suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome, depression, anxiety. I call it BOMAPS, which is not a professional term, but burnt out middle-aged professional syndrome.
There you go.
And he had a very successful practice in accounting and a company auditor, and he couldn't go to work anymore. So he was just resting, and he went to the high priests of modern medicine, and they put him on a number of different medications. And ultimately, it led to my interest in natural medicine and healing, and my first documentary, Food Matters, that came out. And this sort of level of inquiry then helped me bring this research to my father. But there was, after his recovery, and he got off his medications and recovered and was very successful, it's like the illness had a purpose. And it was like teaching him to change a certain element of his life, it was speaking to him in a way that he couldn't understand. It was like his illness was speaking French and he only spoke English.
Right.
And yet he studied French, and then he's like, oh, I understand now, you know? And so what is it about illness in your studies that does it correlate with any of this story that I just shared, where people awaken to the story or the message of what is being given to them through a struggle?
Yeah. And oftentimes it is that people awaken to certain things that are common sense, like change your diet,
Yeah.
drink pure water, get more sleep, move your body, express your emotions. You're worthy, you're enough. Sometimes it's some basic things like that, but oftentimes there's people that are eating great, drinking their water, they're exercising, they're getting good sleep. They seem to be really confident, and all of a sudden their body just goes into this autoimmune disease, and all of a sudden their blood sugar is uncontrollable or their blood pressure is uncontrollable. And then there's a deeper story to that. There's a deeper story. I call it a gift in strange wrapping paper, in the sense that the body is always a reflection of the mind. It doesn't happen any other way. There is no body without a mind. So whatever we've got going on in our body began in our mind. And then we go, well, what is the mind? And what's the significance of it? The mind thinks all day and all night. And while we're awake, it's both conscious and subconscious. While we're asleep, it's only subconscious. And so then we go, okay, the subconscious is always working, asleep and awake. What is the role that the subconscious mind plays in the health of our body? The subconscious mind orchestrates every cell. So right now, you don't have to tell your mitochondria to, produce ATP and create cell signaling for communication to go on. You don't have to tell your body to digest the food that you ate, or just to take the oxygen and bind it to your red blood cells and drop it off to the proper areas of the body so that the body can start to heal. You don't have to do that. The subconscious mind is really orchestrating all the healing of the body. Yet the subconscious mind does something that's really cool, James. And what it does is it stores memories, like greater than any memory storage machine that we could ever imagine. Like we're using really cool technology, and obviously there's good memory on these computers that allow us to communicate. The subconscious mind like dwarfs that level of memory. It remembers everything, every memory you've ever had, and every memory from your parents, and every memory from the generations before, and every memory from a past lifetime is living within the subconscious mind. And when a memory is stuck, where it hasn't been integrated, where it hasn't been processed into long-term memory. As human beings, we've got a prefrontal cortex. That's where the long-term memory goes. If a memory doesn't go from this part of the brain to this part of the brain, it stays short-term memory. And so now, even though I'm not 4, I'm 56, when the 4-year-old memory gets triggered by a color, a sound, a smell, a taste, a feeling, it comes to life. And now not only is that memory being activated as if I was still there, but my biology is running as if I was still there. So now my nervous system is wiring and firing in whatever, whether it be a freeze, fright, flight, or fight, or whether it be a total dissociation because I'm in a shocking experience. That is going to take our immune system, our hormones, our digestion to a whole other world. And what I've come to appreciate is at the core of every disease, the core of every symptom, doesn't matter what it is, there's always a subconscious root. Can we make conscious choices to shift the subconscious mind? Sometimes. Sometimes we can change our diet and it makes a massive difference, as you know. But sometimes people make a change in their diet, they make a change in their exercise, they make a change in all these things, and the patterns in motion. And that means, well, we're pure subconscious. And we need to really bridge that gap and dance with an invisible partner, sub meaning submarine. It's below the surface. How do you discover what's below the surface? And not only discover it, how do you entrain? How do you create a relationship with something that's primitive, with something that is based upon survival? It's like a porcupine. Do you know how to handle a porcupine? I don't. So I'm not going to pick up a porcupine. How do you really create a loving relationship with something that is built upon freeze, fright, flight, or fight?
Mhm.
And there's a real rapport, and that's what the Lifeline technique is it helps us to bridge that gap so that we can create um, not just a relationship between our subconscious, but to create a super conscious
Mhm.
that we bridge the gap, no matter what, no matter where it's coming from. We, having muscle testing, can zero in on the particular memory that's creating the maladaptation and evolve that consciousness with intention, and therefore influence biology, influence behavior, influence perception, transform limiting beliefs. And so, long story short, once again, our body's intelligence isn't always, we're not always aware that it's intelligent, that there's cancer. We're not always aware that there's intelligence in this horrible, horrible pain. We're not always aware of that, but there's intelligence in it. And there's a way to actually, as you were saying, I really like how you use that. There's a way to speak the language. There's a way to interpret it and join the conversation, to evolve instead of revolve. Because when we're in the maladaptive stress reaction of a memory stuck in time and space, we're in a revolution. And we're in a time of humanity right now for evolution. We're in a time where people on this planet are really being pushed into a place where it's time to evolve, or the revolution is going to implode itself. So each of us is giving us an opportunity to have our own internal journeys and therefore be a light in the world and inspire with infinite love and gratitude, real transformation, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think it sort of speaks to this idea as somewhat illness as an opportunity to understand what some of our
Wow.
subconscious conditioning might be. I mean, I've had the opportunity to interview and work with like Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza in some of my content, and they speak a lot about the power of the subconscious mind, right? And I know for many Gaia members tuning into the platform, we talk a lot about this. I guess what's less understood is how do we understand our own personal traumas, you know? And I want to acknowledge a few questions we have here, and I'll get to some in a minute. But I have one more follow-up question here. A friend of mine who does some work in the space, he talks about this idea of anytime we're triggered, it's a clue that there is some unresolved trauma or something that's hiding underneath that. How can people identify what they're, and I know you say muscle testing, so I'd like to know, you know, Marcella here in the Q&A writes, can you share how you muscle test? So I'd like to know that, because I know that, you know, Bradley Nelson, who you do work with, he does a certain methodology, and obviously you have the traditional sort of kinesiology tests. However, how can people tell on their own, like what might be their triggering subconscious beliefs that could be holding them back, or these sort of trauma patterns that they're sort of replaying?
Magnificent question.
Mm.
It's great. And the thing about it is it's really easy. The triggers are making themselves known. So anything that you've got going on from, like, yeah, I'm a little tight in my neck. I got a little fuzziness in my head. I'm confused. I have a headache. Um, you know, shrimp triggers me, or, I react to it. I get a swollen tongue or whatever. It doesn't matter what symptom is, or it doesn't matter what person or situation. It's like, what I like to say is, what triggers you? Who triggers you? Where do you go when you get triggered? What does it take? Tick, 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 boom. Now you're reactive. Now you're reactive. So part of in the Lifeline technology, in the process, in step number 2 of 16 steps, the first part of step number 2 is conscious observation. You got to start with the tip of the iceberg. You got to start with what's available before you get to what's below the surface. So I have people that learn the Lifeline. Like I just finished what's called the Celebration of Learning with this amazing woman named Darla. And Darla is a certified Lifeline practitioner, and now she has learned how to teach a certain aspect of it. And in the process of her guiding me through the Celebration of Learning, she had me observe the symptoms in my body. And so when we started, I was feeling tired. I was feeling tired. I had a little bit of discomfort in my neck. There was particular symptoms that I was aware of. By observing in the quantum world, we're no longer an observer. Once we start observing, we're a participant, because there's a field of energy that connects all of creation. So we start with what we're aware of. And once we observe what we're aware of, then, it's like, and no one likes to think about, like, yeah, I was diagnosed with this disease. Oh, I'm feeling overweight. Oh, I've got, my mom triggers me into frustration, anger. Like, no one likes to think about that. But rather than getting caught in it, to make a connection with your subconscious mind, we need to pay attention before we set an intention. We need to acknowledge where we are before we get to where we're going. So the first part is observation. Simply pay attention to what's triggering you. Rate it. It's an incredible way to become emotionally intelligent. It's just by observing what you genuinely, authentically, honestly, compassionately feel in any given moment. But then once you do that, I have people then ask themselves, because learning the Lifeline technique, you can learn it with another person, but the key is you're learning it to do it on yourself as well. You ask yourself what I call the truth question. And James, in our world right now, where there's such polarity, there's such divide, right? What's the truth? How can anyone call anything the truth? The truth is only something that everyone agrees upon. When I came up with this concept of the truth question, so far, and this has been asked millions of times at this point, everyone answers this question the same way. And I'd love for you to just take this moment and receive this. And all the listeners, I want you to take a moment. I want you to think about, what will your body speaking to? I mean, everybody's healing from something. So if you've been diagnosed with a disease, if you've got pain in a particular part of your body, just tune into that. Just observe that. Just acknowledge it. Your mind will take you exactly there. And then also tune into your life. What's weighing on your heart? What's weighing on your mind? What's triggering you? Who's triggering you? What emotion does it cause you to feel? Do you feel scared? Do you feel insecure? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel angry? Now I've got the truth question for you. If you could choose to create your life a day or a moment, would you ever choose to create it where you were diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, diabetes, cancer? Would you choose to have low back pain? Would you choose to have an ACL tear? Would you choose to be triggered by your family, by your neighbors, by anyone with anxiety, fear, overwhelm, anger? James, would you choose any symptom, stress, or disease in your body or in your life?
Of course not.
Right. And the answer is hell no. The answer is hell no, I would never choose it. But the reality is that we're all healing from something, and we all have a story. We all do. And the reason why this is a significant, almost stupid question, but it's only stupid until we're conscious. Before we're conscious, it's not stupid. So it's important. It's a wake-up call. It's like, I'm not choosing this, but I'm aware of it. And when I'm aware, I'm conscious, I have a choice. And when I'm aware of something that I would never choose, of course not, that's not conscious action, that's subconscious reaction. You just made a connection with your subconscious mind. So the truth question instantly gets you to the subconscious. And now, once you're in your subconscious mind, here's the beauty. Now, dealing with the subconscious mind is not the same as you and I having a conversation. It's not, it's like you and I are going to be walking in Bali down the beach and having a great time and having a conversation. It's not the same. It's a different kind of conversation. When you're dealing with the subconscious mind, we're dealing with something, as I was speaking earlier, that's absolutely primitive. And it has evolved over millions upon millions upon millions of years. The subconscious mind is so profound. So to deal with the subconscious mind, the one thing that can hack the reactive, survival, primitive subconscious mind, the one thing that can hack it is the heart. So we go into the heart. So once we find the symptoms and stressors in our body, in our life, we take our hand with love, we put it over the heart, and we slow down and we give ourselves permission. Yeah, I'm angry. Yeah, I'm insecure. Yeah, I'm so sad. Oh my God, I've got such depression right now about this or that. It's part of being human. It's part of being human. Let yourself feel it. Now go deeper. Because there's a light inside of you that's brighter than the sun. It's brighter than any star in the sky. And connect your light. When it comes to your life, here's a rule. Focus where you're going, not what you want to make go away. Reactive mind will say, make it go away. And paradoxically, that will become stronger. So now take responsibility, accept where you are, even though you'd never choose it. It's happening for you, not to you. What does your heart desire to feel? And it will just speak. I desire to feel calm confidence. That's what my heart just said. Calm confidence. And now, because we understand the subconscious mind in the Lifeline technique, we go, the subconscious mind's like a dog. I just got a new puppy named Walter, and we're training him. So we want to train our minds as well as we train our dogs. And so the key is we know that the subconscious mind will follow us. We're going to lead it to the highest part of the mountain, the summit. So if I was already in a place of calm confidence, I could say, I am calm confidence. I am calm confidence. I am calm confidence. And I say a vibration 3 times. I say a vibration 3 times. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a vibrational frequency that's my North Star that is going to entrain the reactive subconscious mind that's stuck in a memory. And now I'm creating a future vibration. And the coolest part, the last part, is imagination. Now I'm going to use my imagination to create mind medicine. I'm going to say, hey, I'm speaking to myself as I'm doing a Lifeline session with myself. Hey, Darren, are you open, ready, and willing to use your imagination? I literally say it out loud. And I go, yes, I am, because I'm talking to my subconscious mind. I'm giving it a road. I'm giving it a path. And so how does it feel to imagine where every bit of the dream came true and you're living the life of calm confidence? How does it feel? It feels amazing, James. It feels amazing. I'm feeling tingly all over right now, just pretending, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling amazing. And that amazing feeling is a chemical reaction that's going on in the cells. And that chemical reaction is actual medicine. I call it mind medicine. Right? People take pharmaceuticals and it creates a chemical reaction. This is medicine because you use observe, discern, intend, imagine as step number 2 in the Lifeline technique to create a North Star to evolve the subconscious mind, if that made sense. I know it was a lot, but
It does make sense. I think having done some early work with Tony Robbins, this idea of feeling and imagining a brighter future, I think somewhat part of this sort of neurolinguistic programming technique that you mentioned early on is so powerful to live in this. I mean, even Joe Dispenza talks about to live in possibility. That's how I communicate to it. And then that creates this medicine. I mean, super, super powerful.
And just to make it practical.
Yeah, it's super practical. And I think everybody listening can understand what you're describing. In terms of the actual testing, like Marcella's question around the muscle testing, and then Vicky writes here, any tips for someone who's unable to muscle test? I constantly sway backwards for any questions. Is it easy enough for people to muscle test on themselves? They typically need to see somebody for that. How do you approach it?
I mean, if somebody has never done it before or had it done before, there can be a journey of learning it. And it's helpful if you can be in the presence of someone so they can actually show you what that's like. But when I'm muscle testing myself, I've got my arm in, I got my hand over. I feel for what I call the lockout. I'm just feeling the lockout, like I'm just holding it there. I let go, it bounces like a diving board. Once I find that's called lockout. That's called 0 point. Once I find 0 point, I've got my gold standard. Everything's compared to 0 point. And now I'm looking for what's the trigger. Now I'm thinking about what's the trigger. And I can think about, like, you know what? I'm going to think about my mom right now. My mom's been having a hard time. I'm going to think about her. And I'm feeling a lot as I'm thinking about her. And I check the muscle and it gives way. It holds strong. It gives way instantly. I got triggered by thinking about my mom. And so now let's make it practical. Infinite love and gratitude. Infinite love and gratitude. Gratitude. Infinite gratitude. And I'm thinking about my mom. And now, okay, a muscle strong, but wait a second. The significance of that is what controls that muscle locking out? The nervous system. What does the nervous system control? Everything. So, infinite love and gratitude, bonus. And what could be just a little trigger, my mom, that can turn into an avalanche or an absolute riptide for people based upon multiple triggers that are going on at once. So that when we can learn how to create a practice of when we wake up or when we go to bed or when we have a big meeting going on or something that's happening, it's very profound to be able to learn how to do this. But yeah, it's as simple as just literally, I don't have to push hard. I just got to lock out. And here's a way that I like to practice. Love, love, love. Hold strong. Locked out. Fear, fear, fear. Hold strong. Gives way. And it's hard to tell because I'm over here and over there. And it's like,
Yeah.
if I was in person with you right now and you were doing it, it'd be like, oh my goodness, I literally have no control over that. It really is an automatic, reflexive nervous system that we learn how to use with the kinesiology, with what's called the muscle reflex testing.
So people are asking here a little bit around like obscure but interesting questions. Can I only use, is there a certain hand to use? And I know that you mentioned you put it
Great
on your
question.
heart. So there's that. And then you use both hands sometimes. Does that change this?
No, you use it whatever feels comfortable. I like to go like this. If I live in gratitude, I like to put it on my heart. If my knee is hurting, I'll put it over my knee. And
Yeah.
doesn't matter. No, and I'm a righty, so I'll play tennis with my right hand. I'll write with my right hand. I'll arm wrestle better with my right hand. But when I'm muscle testing, I take my left hand, I put it on my right wrist. I got my elbow in tight, not out. I got my elbow in tight. And I imagine I'm holding like a little bucket, like filled with a kitten. So it's not heavy, just enough. And then I push down, and I just want to feel first the lockout. Once I got the 0 point, it locks out, I let go, it just locks into place. And then I can just say, my name's Darren. It locks out. My name's James. It's almost like a lie detector. It's funny in that way. I don't use muscle testing to tell me what to do. Should I have chicken or should I have fish or should I have broccoli or should I have spinach? I don't use it to tell me what to do. I use my own intuition. I use my own. I don't depend upon it in that way. I don't use it as a Ouija board. I'm only using muscle testing as a means to know, am I triggered? If I'm triggered, I'm working on a subconscious level. And that's all I care about. When I'm working with a client, when I'm doing coaching with people and I'm guiding them through a Lifeline technique session, all I want to make sure is that I'm working with their subconscious mind. We can go out and have a talk, and my brother's a therapist. He's amazing. He specializes in trauma, but he's certified in the Lifeline technique because it gets right on into the subconscious. You don't need to be a therapist to learn how to do this. And anyone can learn this muscle testing. And I get the challenge that people might have with other people they might have studied with, but I found it to be quite simple when you just keep it, am I being triggered or not? If I am, harmonize with infinite love and gratitude.
Yeah.
Recheck the muscle, it's strong.
And so you've sent a message to your nervous system that it's okay.
That's it. That's it. And then there's some really cool applications like, hey, how does your brain work? How does your brain work? Your brain works via processing through visual, kinesthetic, and auditory pathways. So now I can put that into application and I can think about my mom. I can see her in my mind. And now as I'm seeing her in my mind, oh, that still creates a trigger. In for love and gratitude, in for love and gratitude. Now I'm going to feel my mom. It's a different energy, different than seeing. I'm feeling my mom. I'm feeling that didn't give way. Now I'm going to hear the voice in my mom. It's interesting. So I'm hearing my mom's voice. My mom's telling me she loves me. But it gives way. I get triggered from my mom saying, I love you. Isn't that funny? And for love and gratitude, and for love and gratitude. So I'm based upon different knowledge. the muscle testing can be applied. So the Lifeline technique is an integration of 16 systems: chiropractic, acupuncture, 5-element theory, Ayurvedic medicine, the chakras, NLP, EMDR, timeline, epigenetics. Like I've taken what Bruce Lipton does in biology belief, and I've done some really neat things with it. I've done some really neat things with it to really influence the sensory perception, the sensory receptors in the cells to send a real message to the nucleus that is producing new cells. There's so many applications based upon how deep you want to dive into it.
There's a question we have here, actually from an anonymous attendee, but it says, is the subconscious mind, is that the one that makes decisions in our dream? And then the question is this the one who thinks in our dreams, our subconscious mind?
Well, it's interesting. Yes, it thinks. It thinks. It doesn't make decisions. It's not the same kind of, it's not the same concept of a decision. Like I'm making a decision right now to, be on this interview with you, James. Like the subconscious mind doesn't make decisions. It reacts. It is like a messenger RNA. It is just, it's a copy.
Mm.
It's not an original. The subconscious mind's not an original.
Mm.
So it looks like a decision, but it's not a decision. The difference between an action and a reaction is the reaction has an RE in front of it. So it's an action that does it again and again and again and again and again until we learn from it. Like you said, it's a gift and strange, but it's an opportunity for us to learn when it's showing up as some type of maladaptive stress reaction in our body or in our behavior, in our attractor field.
Very interesting. How do you sort of work with people that are speaking about specific issues? Like Nora is talking about breast cancer or autoimmune condition, and then we have Nathalie I have a strange pain on the left side of my abdomen, inside. And then we have more psychological questions around, my husband passed away last year from his own doing. What practice might help best me process? How do we, from a psychological perspective and then from a physiological perspective, how can people understand how to map to these challenges, using this sort of approach of awareness, first of all, and then muscle testing? How would you approach this for these individuals?
Well, I would take it one person at a time, really. I mean, if they're looking to have an understanding for themselves, it's about really learning the steps on how to do that for yourself, how to even think about that. But I mean, wow, God bless losing a husband to suicide. Infinite love and gratitude to that. That's so painful. I'm holding in my heart and prayers. It's a real life situation. And Nora, as far as like, how do you cure breast cancer? I don't cure anybody. The body is a self-healing organism. I bridge the gap between the conscious and subconscious mind, and the body does what it's designed to do. The body is not a body without a mind, but is the mind being driven by a superconscious, or is it being driven by a memory from a subconscious? So to me, it doesn't matter the name of the disease. It doesn't even matter the level of the trauma. Like my friend Diane, I love her so much. I am awoken in the middle of the night, and my spirit guides say, go check Facebook. And I checked Facebook, and Diane had just reached out to me 15 minutes before. And her husband had just died, a dear friend of mine, Robert. And I immediately reach out. And she had promoted me in Australia for like a dozen years. And like, I'm like, and so she knows the Lifeline intimately, but she's in shock. She's in shock. I said, Diane, I'm like, you got to jump on a Zoom with me right now. She goes, I can't. I'm like, Diane, come on, jump on with me right now. Because let's just get it right here, right now. And we're best friends. We're best friends. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to hold the space for you. So she gets on, and I guide her through the process, fresh from her husband dying. And it's not a spiritual bypass where all of a sudden it's like Robert came to life. No, it just, what makes trauma isn't the actual situation. What makes trauma is that trauma is being filtered through a memory that hasn't been processed. So what makes the trauma horrific is that Now I'm the 4-year-old, and the 4-year-old can't process that.
It's unprocessed. Yeah.
It's unprocessed. So it's not that, oh, that this just happened. It's just what just happened triggered something even deeper.
Mm.
We don't know what's in the subconscious mind. That's why it's called the subconscious. If we did, it wouldn't be called that. So so it doesn't really matter what it is, a behavioral situation, an addiction, obsessive compulsive, the dynamic of blood sugar, blood pressure, immunity, allergies. I've had people with anaphylactic allergies, a child that came on in with anaphylactic allergies to nuts. And I worked with this child. And I said to the mom, I said, I think we got it. I'm like, I want to do a couple more sessions, but I think we got it. And did a couple more sessions. And I said, this is what you do. Go to the pediatrician and have the test to see if she's still allergic. And then if she's not allergic, do the provocation with an EpiPen there because it's life-threatening. It's life-threatening. It's an anaphylactic allergy. Went and did the test. No longer allergic. Ate the nut. Did not react. What happened? I didn't heal that. I'm not the healer. I'm the healer for myself. I'm the healer for myself, but I'm not the healer for everyone else. The power that creates us is the power that heals us. But when we can bridge the gap between the conscious and subconscious, the superconscious has an intelligence that orchestrates the symphony of life in very unique, beautiful, powerful ways that is really awesome and miraculous.
Yeah, I mean, this idea that we are a self-healing machine, was
Yeah.
first suggested to me, I want to say by Charlotte Gerson, by her father's work, which was much more of a biochemical approach to healing,
Sure.
but still it acknowledges this higher power, as well. And to me, to start at this place is so powerful because I think, what I learned initially, and I'm sort of reflecting on this, is that we are a result, our life, when we open our eyes, what we see is our belief systems in action, right?
Yes. Yeah. Right.
And whether that's a struggle or relationship, illness, success or a lack of success, it might be, these are a result of our belief systems. And so if we are able to then recondition our belief system, which is somewhat reconditioning the subconscious mind, or as you said, which I think is very interesting, the first time I said this, unresolved trauma can repeat, then we can experience, let's say self-healing, which is the body coming back into alignment by itself. And if you look at the body, if anybody's studied any basic, you cut it, it heals. Even atherosclerotic plaque buildup on the arteries is your body healing weak arteries. Quick, use that cholesterol there. A tumor is your body protecting itself from an overgrowth of cells. So all of these so-called diseases are actually healing responses. So the body is this innately intelligent being. So you were talking about this example of this woman who had suffered this shock, and you weren't trying to help her be good with the situation. Yeah,
right.
yeah. You're trying to help her.
No.
Yeah, you're trying to help her process the trauma,
Accept it.
somewhat digest it, accept it, process it.
Imagine this. Imagine that there were all these zippers energetically around us, and that we could just unzip the fabric of consciousness, and we could open it up, and we can find, oh, here I am at 4. Again, I'll just use that. I'm at 4, and there's this conflict in the house. There's conflict. There's addiction. There's conflict. That memory, what I call a core limiting belief, is an emotional charge that will repeat itself, different face, different name, throughout our entire life. What ends up happening with that memory is that memory becomes a lens of perception. It becomes a filter, how we filter things, and it becomes a gravity. That core belief becomes a gravity. We will attract people that match it. So this core memory, this core limiting belief, when it gets triggered, affects our perception. And we think about this. We think about the concept of what's stress. We think of what is stress? And the thing about it is there's distress, which is really bad. And then there's eustress. And eustress is actually healthy stress. We need stress. It's called something called hormesis. We need it to maintain resilience and to create a deeper level of rigor within ourselves. Yet what ends up happening is with these core limiting beliefs, James, when they get triggered, our perception changes as if the belief is going on. And now we're viewing through that lens, which is creating stress. And that stress now, if we want to go biological here, will affect our energy, will affect our acupuncture meridians. It'll affect our chakras, which then from there, once that chi and that intelligence is not flowing, now our pH is off. Now our hydrogen atoms are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and now we're in a place of free radical damage going on. And then from there, we enter a world of inflammation. We enter a world of itises. And the inflammation is there's fires all over the body, localized and systemic. And then from that inflammation, the body, like a bushfire, the body will attempt to take that fire down by forming adhesions. And now adhesions form in our muscles and our organs and our brain. And then from these adhesions, scar tissue forms. And now once scar tissue forms, and we're not newts, we're not salamanders, we do not regrow, which is a very fun conversation, but we do not regrow limbs or tails. So scar tissue forms. And once scar tissue forms, scar tissue does not conduct life force. It doesn't. So now we're in a degenerative cycle, all predicated by one thing, a core limiting belief.
Yeah.
All from a core limiting belief. All from a core limiting belief. It's amazing. And you know what? I'm raising both hands. I'm human. So I'm healing constantly. I have my own stories. I'm living life. We all are. It's not like you get somewhere and live happily ever after until I take the last breath. And I will take a last breath at one point. What does it mean to live with infinite love and gratitude in my heart? What does it mean to live actively versus reactively? And that's a practice. Literally a practice. That's you and I. That's an inside joke between us. That's it's a practice, not a perfect. And so we do our best. So the Lifeline technique is a technology. At least my friend Greg Braden calls it a technology. He goes, Darren, this is a technology that you have created a portal versus a problem, a portal to help people evolve their consciousness and therefore influence the healing of the body and influence the healing of relationships with ourselves and the world that's around us.
I think one really interesting observation that you made in this sort of journey that you took us on, somewhat The Anatomy of an Illness, to steal Norman Cousins' book title, is this concept of the master here is our thoughts. And somewhat this triggers a neurochemical response in the body that creates this entire cascade of quote unquote sort of triggers or moments that lead to what we experience as a symptom or a chronic illness, right? So in order to unwind that, we can not only just work on the physical level or the biochemical level, we need to work on the neural level, which is the level of beliefs, the level of triggers. And there's a few questions that come up around this. On the physical level, Dawn asks about fascia release. So is there a muscle component? Obviously, from a chiropractic lens, there's the musculoskeletal system is something that if you sort of help to manually adjust it, it can help things to flow. Then Sean writes more on an esoteric level, can triggers come from one's past life? Which I think is very interesting. So two very broad spectrum questions here, sort of wrapped into one, manual fascia release, past life. Can you bridge those for us, please?
I'm working with a client last week in Palo Alto, and her neck was hurting really bad. And I just started to evaluate her. I mean, as a chiropractor, I do what I do, but I'm here in Chicagoland area. And I'm like, oh, she's got an inferior occiput on the left side. So I just energetically went like that. And then, oh, she had a double inferior occiput. Boom. And then, boom. And then I found her ribs were out. And I got together with her this week, and she goes, Darren, right after you did that adjustment, the pain in my neck went away, immediately shifted. So that is, I don't teach that in the Lifeline technique. That's something that as a result of my knowledge, I apply it within the Lifeline technology of it. Um, the aspect of what role, where do the muscles play into it? Each of the muscles through applied kinesiology is associated with a different acupuncture meridian, a different organ and gland. And so, that, whether it be the fascial system, or the lymphatic system, everything is interconnected in the most incredible Harry Potter jigsaw puzzle. It's a moving piece of art. It's incredible. As far as past lives, yes. So I'm working with this child, and my banker had referred the parents to me because their child was having panic attacks. And the child's like 3, this little girl. And they, went to a therapist, they went to the pediatrician, they did medications, nothing's working. And here's the wild, I want to give this story and listen to the full story before you judge it. She started having these panic attacks with her favorite uncle who grew a goatee. And so they knew there was nothing that was unkosher here, as far as they never left the kid alone. They never left the kid alone. The kid was never left alone. So anyhow, they bring the child in. I'm doing the session. The kid doesn't really speak. I'm just doing the session with the child. And it comes to a past life. And in the past life, there was sexual personal invasion. And I can only imagine that it was a person with a beard or a goatee. Did the session. I didn't hear from the people for a year. I get a call from this woman, and this woman says to me, you worked with my sister-in-law and you did one session, and my niece no longer had panic attacks ever. Can you help me with ulcerative colitis? And I was like, oh man, I just thought that they thought I was a wacko. And because I wasn't thinking anything about it, like past life, it was what it was. I'm open to that. And it's just part of the Lifeline technique is past lives, inherited programs from generation, or early life imprints that affect this maladaptive stress reaction of the memories that are frozen in time. Yes, whoever asked that question, oh, that's Sean. Absolutely, past lives can trigger all kinds of things for sure.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
I actually had a reading done recently, and in one of my lives, I passed from starvation, and it's very interesting that over the past sort of 20 years, I've been fascinated with food and nutrition. And if anyone comes to my house, there's always food to eat. I'm always cooking. It's like my maladaptive response is that we will not go hungry in this lifetime.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's the opportunity that it ultimately created for you. Really.
Yeah, that's
It's
right. Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. So I want to just highlight here, we have a few minutes to go, and we'll get to some more questions that if you're loving this conversation and you want to go deeper on this, for Gaia members, we have access to an incredible program on the marketplace. So Gaia Marketplace is something where we curate these conscious retreats and tours and training programs and physical products. And Darren has been grateful enough to list his program on the marketplace. And on top of being a Gaia member where you get a discount, we're also applying that discount twice over for a limited time. So you can find out more. There'll be a link in the comments. And if you're on the email list for this, you'll find out more about it. In this Lifeline Conscious Evolution course, is this something that lay people can take? Is it something that is more for practitioners, or what about people that are interested in self-healing?
Yeah, all the above. Anyone who's an enthusiast within the mind, body, consciousness will love it. Anyone can learn it. If you're a practitioner, you will definitely take it to a whole other level, because your application of what you'll be able to provide for your clients will be a whole other level. So it's really for anyone. I thought about it when I first woke up to the Lifeline technique. I thought, do I just keep this to professionals? And then 10 minutes later, I'm like, no, the world really needs to have an understanding of how to influence their consciousness. And so I said, I'm not going to do that. And so it is open to people that are, the youngest person that got certified was 16.
Oh, wow.
And the eldest was in her 80s.
There we go.
Yeah, now in like 24 countries around the world.
Magic.
Yeah.
And so how long does it take for the course? It's an online course?
It's an online course. It's an online course, 16 e-learning webinars that are really phenomenal. I'm really proud of it. And then we run live webinars that are supportive. And we've got coaching that is included in it every Friday and I think Wednesday, that you will be able to participate in it as well. I mean, the fastest I've seen people move through it is 4 months, and they were really hungry. It usually is a year. Usually it's a year to go through the process. And that is the conscious evolution is the beginning of the Lifeline certification. There's a couple other requirements to get certified in the Lifeline, because we don't want just people to know how to do it. We want people to actually have the ability to have a clear vision of their own life and to be able to process with real specific ways of where there's challenges for them. So we actually have created other programs that allow our practitioners not only to be great at the Lifeline, but to be really at the leading edge of their own life, personally, professionally, and family.
Amanda writes a question here. Does Darren work with clients long distance, or does it have to be in person? And I guess, are you also present for some of the trainings with the online course as well?
For me, I only work online. I do a coaching program with people. That's an application. You can go to my website to check that out. And you can apply for that. But I work with people 6 months to a year at a time. And that's a waiting list right now. But if it's something that's interesting, you can do it. But I've got other practitioners that work remotely as well. But I also do in-person programs in really cool places around the world as well that are really a lot of fun.
And with the course and training program, it's available in English and other languages, or just English?
English right now.
Okay.
AI is going to open it up to another level where that will be able to happen, but not yet.
Mm-hmm. And any other final questions here? One here, and I think we sort of answered this, but how do I know even if I have unresolved issues left to handle, says Alan.
Alan, good question, brother. If you're breathing, you've got portals. We all do. We all do. And so it's not like an unresolved issue. I call it a portal. It's a feedback mechanism rather than an issue. An issue is like, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with anyone. The body speaks the mind. Our behavior is a reflection of our mind. And when it's one that creates pain for ourselves or other people, then that's what I call the gift and strange wrapping paper. And we look at that with compassion and curiosity, and we become a student of our body. We become a student of our behavior. And it really allows us to consciously evolve as an individual, to be a light in our own lives and therefore a light in the world.
I love this language reframe. I feel like it's a big part of your work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the work, because I often find,
Yeah.
in business is like trying to become, at sea when it's rough,
Yeah.
and that was my training. So I'm familiar with it. However, people often say we've got this huge problem, this huge challenge. And I'm like, we got an opportunity.
There you go.
What's the opportunity here? What are we seeking to learn? How are we seeking to evolve? How is this block teaching us a new way of looking at things? But this language, and I don't even call it work, I call it mission, And so these simple reframes that I've training myself to do over,
I'm so
and still
grateful
got
you
much to do.
noticed. I'm
The
so
portal
grateful.
is like so beautiful. Like I love
Yeah.
that.
I mean, editing all my books that I've written was most challenged. Like the editors would go on in and change it. Like, no, that cannot change. There's a reason why this word is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's another language. And ultimately, I think Buckminster Fuller said it, don't attempt to solve the current problem, make a new consciousness that makes the current problem obsolete. And that's what the Lifeline does, is it creates intention through observe, discern, intend, imagine, what we talked about way earlier. It creates a vibration that ultimately makes this 4-year-old obsolete. And the body is a self-healing organism, and is the behavior. I've seen people who have been completely dissociative, completely OCD, completely in a place of like, wow, evolve their life, like really transform things that are just like, how did that happen? People, I mean, it doesn't happen to everybody because life is life, but I'm thinking about my dear friend Sharon, who a little over a year ago was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer that metastasized into the liver, lymph, and bone. And we started working together one time per week, and we just hit it. We just went at it. And she is not a cancer survivor. She's a cancer thriver. She is completely transformed. It's completely unremarkable. It's complete transformation that has occurred. This is really, I obviously have a mastery of the technology. There's a process of really utilizing this technology to create evolutionary change. And how can it be applied? It's up to the person. It's up to the person, whatever the portal is for the person.
Whatever that portal is. I
Yeah.
love that. Darren and everybody here, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your questions, everybody. I hope I got to as many as I could there. And you can see more details of the offer and the special that we have available. Let's drop a heart for Darren here and a small comment here. And pleasure to connect, Darren, for the first time.
I'm so
And
grateful.
yeah, love this work that you're doing. And I feel like there's two parallels in self-awakening that are running side by side here. One is understanding the biochemical pathways of nutrition and movement and meditation. And the other one is the spirit and understanding our subconscious and the energy and the frequency. And as they merge, I see this incredible opportunity for people to step up.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
The 16th step of the Lifeline is called the essential acts of self-love, the 5 basics for optimal health. So once you've created a transformation, a bridging of the gap between the conscious and subconscious, you created a super conscious. Now it's put it into motion. So now drink your water, 1 quart for 50 pounds. Now eat consciously. Now get your sleep. Now move your body. Now own your power. We live in a world that is all about extravagant cures. And people are like doing things where oftentimes I'm going to eat this way because I'm going to eat broccoli because I don't want to get this disease like my mom had. I'm going to eat this way because I don't want to gain weight. We're doing things because we don't want things to happen. And so once we've gone through the entire process and we entrained the subconscious mind, for example, in an I am calm, confident, feeling amazing way. Now my focus, my practice is drink water in a calm, confident way and really be present with it. When I'm eating food and I'm smelling, I'm tasting, I'm cooking it, I'm putting my vibration of calm confidence into it. Because now I want to drive on the bridge that was built. Now I want to go into this terrain. So it is. I love what you're saying because you bridge this gap between all these things that are on the physical level, the actions of people, once you've harmonized that reactive part.
Magic. Thank you for your time. Again, thank you everybody for attending and for your attention. The most important currency at this moment is attention. Your spiritual currency. So thank you for that and your beautiful questions. Thank you, Darren. Have a beautiful afternoon and infinite love and gratitude.
Infinite love and gratitude. Thank you so much. Thank you, James, and thank you, Wendy and Kelly, and everyone. I'm really grateful for the time.
Thank you. Take care.